After going from this to this to this to this and actually keeping the fat off, I look like this all year. I would say this is somewhere between 10 to 15% body fat, and this is the sweet spot for most guys. And in the process, I've discovered the perfect fat loss diet. Accidentally, just follow these key principles and you will be able to get lean and stay lean for the rest of your life. Let's get into it. So I went to London and stayed with my brother for a whole month. He's jacked. He's on a carnivore diet, which basically made me 80% carnivore myself. I'm living with the guy. We're training together. So obviously, we're going to eat similar stuff. And what I realized almost immediately was the power of a high protein, high fat diet on keeping you full. Maybe some of you've heard of this before, that proteins keep you satiated, but this was on another level. I was having so much beef and so much fat that I almost forgot that I was hungry for the whole day. And he told me that carnivores sometimes have to remind themselves to eat because the proteins and fats just keep you full for so long. Now, what am I saying? Now, some of you are thinking, well, but carnivores, I don't want to do carnivore. Nobody's telling you to do carnivore. Chill out, okay? I'm not saying do carnivore. I didn't do carnivore. I'm not a carnivore myself. But what I am saying is recognize the power of high protein and high fat in keeping you satiated for long periods of time, which ultimately not make you crave random pieces of food and snacks and little chocolate here, little bread here, because you're full. The first principle that you must add to the perfect fat loss diet is that it must be high proteins and high fats, not just for the benefits of protein, but for muscle building and muscle maintenance, but because it keeps you satiated long time. Next, I'm not a carnivore. I'm not going to do a full carnivore diet. I'm Korean. In Korea, we have rice for breakfast, rice for lunch, rice for goddamn dinner. We love rice. So I'm not going to give up rice, right? So I'm having these massive bowls of minced beef and adding a little bit of rice on the side. And this was actually a great decision. It makes it taste good. But what I realized immediately was that as soon as I started having a bit of rice, I was like, I want more rice. And I'd made like a high protein, high fat lunch into a high everything lunch, 1,500 calories. And then I was over my caloric limit. I'm not saying go no carb. I'm not trying to say everybody needs to do keto. But again, you must be very aware that what carbs do to you is that they make you want to eat more carbs. Have you ever realized when people say like, oh, I've got another stomach for the dessert? That's actually how you feel, because when you start having sugar or carbs, which are the same thing, your body starts to go into this dopamine craving mode. It starts to like block leptin, the satiety signaling to your brain. So you think you can eat more and you just end up eating more. A lot of hunger is about controlling satiety. And by lowering your carbs and increasing your proteins and fats, you put that satiety signaling in a good place and you set yourself up for success. So make your entire fat loss diet a little bit low carb than you do now. Now, I gave this tip to one of my clients who's an Indian guy who loves eating rice just like the Koreans. And I was like, yo, every spoonful you take more of the chicken and less of the rice. More of the chicken curry, less of the basmati. That's the shift. The ratio has to shift. Next, another lesson that I learned from this trip in London was the power of simplicity and repeatability. Your perfect fat loss diet must be simple and repeatable. And this is one of the most important things that you must get right that most people screw up, because you don't think of your diet as a routine. Guess what? You need to make your diet into a routine just like your training is a routine. And what happens to your training when you keep switching your routine? You don't make no gains. You gotta have the patience and the repeatable simplicity of one routine that you stick to that's just gonna give you massive progress. Now that has to be simple so that it's easy to follow. And that's what makes it repeatable and sustainable. So I made that exact routine for an aesthetic V-taper body. If you want that, get it with the first link in the description. Aesthetic Body Blueprint is the perfect accompaniment to a fat loss diet that we're talking about. But going back to the point about the diet, you gotta make it simple and you got to make it repeatable. Now again, carnivore is the simplest way. You're just eating the same things over and over again. But I feel like that's too extreme. Again, I love food too much. I love spaghetti con le vongole, kimchi jjigae, tartiflette, what have you. I love gelato with brioche. I love all the foods of the world. So we want some variety, right? But you got to understand that if you're constantly switching up your diet, you're using a lot of energy, first of all, on what am I going to eat? How am I going to prepare it? How am I going to clean it? Where am I going to go? Oh, I went there yesterday, dead. No way to calculate calories, no ability to track your protein because it's just too all over the place. And if you do all those things because you still want to eat loads of varied stuff, you're taking out all of that energy on doing that and you can't do something else. And over time, when your life gets busy, you're going to be like, nah, screw this, I'm not doing this. Your fat loss diet has to be super simple, super repeatable. Let me give you a formula for this. Make 3 different lunches and 3 different dinners and just rotate them. For the ones that really love food, like I'm talking, you wake up, watch food videos on YouTube, you can have 5 and 5 and just rotate them. Calculate the macros once, the protein and the calories once, and then just forget about it. There's power in keeping things very simple. Next, there was a point where I was adding this fish sauce to this minced beef with a little bit of rice, and I found that this was just perfect. It was so perfect, and the fish sauce idea came from Thai cuisine, where the sauce gives so much taste, but it's not that high in calories because it doesn't have too much sugar in it. Now, some of you won't like fish sauce, so you're gonna have to find your own sauce that is, again, low sugar. Like sriracha is quite low. Certain kinds of whole grain mustard is low in calories. Certain low calorie broth in Asian cuisine can be a very good way to add flavor. The point is, it must be delicious. Whoa, that's the next principle. Because if you're somebody that likes food and the food that you're eating is not delicious, every time you're doing this trade-off. Oh, I gotta eat like this. I gotta eat like a freaking polar bear just so that I can get a six-pack. And then you're like, I don't enjoy this. Why can't I have pizza for once? Why can't I enjoy a beer or a little ice cream for once? There's more to life than a six-pack. You start getting these thoughts and then you give up. So think of it like every time you're eating, you're using too much energy because it's freaking not delicious. And I see some of these gym bro fitness influencer foods grinding chicken breast in a blender, drinking it, egg whites, glug glug glug, protein shake, banana, and just glug glug glug. Like, what are you doing? You know, like, I mean, okay, do that. Okay, no hate, but I do hate that food. Don't be eating like that. You can build a respectable physique without blending chicken breast in a blender. You gotta make the thing delicious. Whatever that is for you. Maybe for me, that was the fish sauce, that was the kimchi broth, that was the sriracha, honey mustard, whatever it is. For you, it might be something different, but find it and make sure that that simple, repeatable 3 dishes or 5 dishes are actually delicious and you look forward to it. This is so important. Next is that it must be high volume. What you want to aim for when you're trying to lose fat is high volume and low calorie foods, as opposed to small volume, like low volume, high calorie. These might be called calorie dense foods. So like a chocolate brownie fudge cream cake is probably the most dense bit of calorie you can have. It's very small volume, but it packs a bloody punch with calories. Now imagine a massive salad bowl with some like chicken breast, some tomatoes, a little bit of olive oil. It's like this big, you're struggling to finish it, and it's low calorie. High volume, low calorie is what you want when you are trying to lose fat. So a lot of the time this means like very delectable huge salads, but that doesn't mean you just gotta have leaf. You can have lots of like meat in it and protein in it, and even add some fat on it, and it will still be calorically quite low compared to the volume. Now, why is it important for it to have high volume? Because sometimes when you're eating, it's not just about the amount you eat, it's about the duration. It's about the ritual of chewing and swallowing that must last for a certain period of time before you kind of psychologically feel satisfied with the meal. I don't see many people talk about this, but if your whole meal was, it doesn't feel like you've had a meal. But if you're from a culture or from a background, or if your personality is such that you like kind of sit down and to eat and to talk, and like food is a ritual, it's part of your culture, you love doing this, a 2-minute meal just feels like no meal at all. Sometimes having that high volume is going to draw out the eating process, and that's going to make you actually more full. When you start to eat things fast, you've seen fast eaters that just literally swallow their food like super quick. Basically, the leptin hasn't had time, leptin is the satiety hormone, hasn't had time to tell your brain that you've had enough, that you're full, because you're eating so fast. So often you can overeat because you're eating so fast. But if you sometimes eat slow, like sometimes when I film videos as I eat, just because I'm talking as I'm eating, it really slows down my eating process, and I struggle to finish the food on my plate because the leptin's there, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm full. So become a slower eater and make the eating process more drawn out, and one of the ways to do that is obviously high volume foods. Next, you gotta hit a moderate calorie deficit. This is what encompasses this whole video. I didn't start with it because if you watch this channel, you probably know that fat loss comes down to calorie deficit. But the key word here is that it has to be moderate. Fasting makes this easy for me. I don't know if you like to do intermittent fasting or 1 meal a day or whatever kind of fast you do, but fasting will make staying in a deficit that much easier. But when I say a moderate calorie deficit, it just means, somewhere between 200 to 500 calories below your maintenance level. This is the sustainable rate at which you can lose weight, and then you should stay at maintenance and keep that new weight. And if you go up, find yourself gaining a couple kilos again like I am right now, you clock that, and then you go in a moderate deficit to control it. And this is how you manage your weight. So learn to stay in a moderate calorie deficit so that you don't do these massive bounce back, these massive yo-yos, and you know that you can always drop weight in a sustainable way while eating the things that you love. Next is that the perfect fat loss diet is not actually a diet that you do to lose fat. Now, you're probably thinking, what the hell? What have I been watching? What is a perfect fat loss diet if it isn't to lose fat? This makes no sense. Oh my God. The perfect fat loss diet is actually a diet that you can eat constantly and maintain your weight. Maintaining your weight is more important than the skill of losing weight, because when you can maintain your weight, every new weight becomes yours, as opposed to a guy who goes through this crazy fat loss diet. Oh, I lost 15 pounds in 3 weeks. I lost 30 pounds over the last 3 months. I talk to a lot of these guys. They're very proud of it, but they've got no confidence that they can A, keep it, and B, do it again. Oftentimes these proclamations come with the caveat that they gained the weight back, or it was 3 years ago that they did that and now they're like somewhere else. Listen, that's no good. You don't want to be the guy that just got lean for summer or that just dropped 30 pounds like 3 summers ago. Nobody cares about that. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do moving forward? You need to learn how to maintain your leanness, stay lean for the rest of your life. So a diet then is not a temporary change in the way you eat. It's a long-term structural change in how you eat, and that is what's going to maintain that leanness. Because as I always say, the guy that lives as a 10 to 15% body fat guy, there's a way that that guy moves, there's a way that that guy eats. It's radically different to a guy at 20%, 25% body fat. And the same you, the you watching that's at 22% body fat, you, when you drop to 15% body fat, you will be eating in a radically different way that must be that way the whole time. It's not just some little thing you do to get there and then you stop. Now, if you want to learn my exact system of training, go get Aesthetic Body Blueprint. If you want to learn my diet system so you can actually get lean and stay lean for the rest of your life, then check out Forever Lean Blueprint. It's a new diet program where I distilled all my best knowledge in there. You can go get that, see exactly how I set everything up. Follow me, copy paste my formula to get lean and stay lean. If you like this video, subscribe, and see you next week. Bye-bye.